My daughter threatened, "Give me $50 or I accuse you of abuse." I walked into the police station, extortion evidence. Then I cut her off, hired a forensic psychologist, and sued for defamation. Her brave post got deleted by lawyers at dawn. I, 52 male. I've spent the last 24 years of my life dedicated to one person, my daughter, Rachel. Her mother passed away from a sudden illness when Rachel was just a toddler, leaving me to navigate the labyrinth of single parenthood. And I tried my best. Ballet recitals, science fair projects, scraped knees, broken hearts. I was there for all of it. We were a team. I thought we were unbreakable. I work a steady, if unspectacular, job in logistics. I saved diligently, not for a lavish retirement, but to give her a good start in life. I paid for her college, co-signed for her first car, and still sent her a few $100 a month to help with her bills, even though she graduated 2 years ago. Last Tuesday, she called and asked to come over to talk about something important. I figured she was finally going to tell me she was getting serious with her boyfriend, Tyler. He's not my favorite. He's a self-proclaimed entrepreneur who seems to float from one brilliant, soon-to-be millionaire idea to the next, all while living in Rachel's apartment and using her car. She arrived looking nervous, picking at the label of a water bottle. We did the usual small talk dance. "How's work? How's the car running?" Then she dropped it. "Dad, I need your help," she started, her voice unnaturally formal. "Tyler and I have this incredible opportunity. It's a game changer, but we need capital to get in on the ground floor." I kept my face neutral. "Okay, what kind of opportunity?" "It's complicated," she hedged. "It's a tech-based import venture. High yield, fast turnaround. But the buy-in is $50,000. I almost choked on my coffee. $50,000? Rachel, that's a massive amount of money. I know, but the returns are practically guaranteed. We could double it in 6 months. I leaned forward. "Let me see the business plan, the prospectus, the company registration. I'll go over it with you. Maybe we can find a more traditional way to get a business loan if it's solid." Her face tightened. "There's no time for that, Dad. The window is closing. We need the money by the end of the month." "Rachel, I am not handing you or Tyler $50,000 without any documentation. That's not helping. That's just reckless. I love you, but the answer is no." This is where the daughter I knew vanished. Her sweet, slightly anxious expression was replaced by a cold, hard mask. Her eyes looked like chips of glass. "I knew you'd say that," she said, her voice dropping to a low, venomous tone. "You always have to control everything. You can't just be happy for me." "That's not fair, Rachel. I'm trying to protect you, and frankly my own savings." She stood up, her hands on her hips. The entitlement radiated off her in waves. It was breathtaking. "You owe me, for everything. For Mom not being here. You think paying for college made up for that? For having a dad who was always tired and stressed? This is your chance to actually do something for me." I was speechless. The sheer audacity of it. The cruelty. "The answer is no, Rachel. This conversation is over." She took a step closer, her face contorted with a chilling smirk. "No, it's not. Here's what's gonna happen. You're gonna transfer me the $50,000. If you don't, I'm gonna go to the police. I'm gonna tell them that you hurt me when I was a kid, that you used to lock me in my room, that you hit me. I'll make a post online. I'll tell everyone what a monster you are behind closed doors. Your work, your friends, what little family we have left, they'll all know. Your life will be over." Time seemed to stop. The air in the room grew thick and heavy. I wasn't looking at my daughter. I was looking at a stranger, a hostile entity wearing her face. My first instinct was pure white-hot rage, but right behind it was a wave of nausea. This was a shakedown. A threat so profound it felt like a physical blow. When she stormed out, slamming the door, I collapsed into a chair, the room spinning around me. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. Then, a terrifying, icy calm washed over me. The grief would come later. Right now, it was about survival. I picked up my phone. My hands were shaking, but my mind was laser-focused. I had to get it in writing. It was a gamble, but I was counting on her arrogance, her rage. People that angry are sloppy. Me. Just to be perfectly clear, are you threatening to falsely accuse me of child abuse if I don't give you $50,000? It felt like an eternity, but a minute later, my phone buzzed. "Rachel, don't try to be smart. You heard me. You have until the 30th. You're leaving me no choice." I saved a screenshot. Then I saved it again to the cloud and emailed it to myself. I felt a profound sense of loss, like a part of my life had been amputated without anesthetic. The daughter I raised was gone. In her place was this thing, and it had just declared war. I'm not a hero, I'm a logistics manager. I solve problems, methodically, step by step. And this is the biggest logistical problem of my life. Update 1. Hey everyone, the last 2 weeks have been a waking nightmare. I've barely slept. I've lost weight I couldn't afford to lose. There's a constant churning knot of acid in my stomach. On the outside, I'm going to work and functioning. On the inside, I feel like I'm holding myself together with duct tape. But I wanted to thank you for the support on my last post. It helped me feel less alone as I took the first necessary steps. Strategy over outbursts. It's my mantra now. Step 1. The lawyer. The day after the threat, I called in sick and spent the morning researching attorneys. I found Miss Janet, a highly recommended lawyer specializing in family law and defamation. She has a reputation for being a shark in the courtroom but a calm, strategic advisor in her office. Perfect. I sat in her plush office feeling like an imposter and laid out the whole story, showing her the text messages. Her expression was grim. This is poison, she said, and the only way to deal with poison is to contain it and then neutralize it. Your first move was brilliant. Now, we build a fortress before she even thinks about launching her first arrow. Step 2. The police station. This was the hardest thing I've ever done. The morning after hiring Miss Janet, I walked into the central police station. Every fiber of my being screamed at me to run. I felt like a criminal. I sat down with a detective and calmly explained that I was there to file a report of extortion. I laid out the conversation, the demand, and the specific threat. Then I showed him the printout of the text exchange. He read it, then looked up at me. His eyes were weary, but they held a flicker of understanding. So, you're getting ahead of it, he said. It wasn't a question. He took my statement. An official file now exists. It's logged, timed, and dated. As the detective said, it's my word against hers for now, but my proactivity and the written evidence give my story significant weight. It's not about getting her arrested. It's about creating an official, time-stamped shield. Step 3. Cutting the cord. Guided by Miss Janet, I performed a complete financial amputation. With each step, I felt a piece of my past fall away. I called my bank and placed enhanced security alerts on all my accounts. I called the phone company. Rachel's line was on my family plan. I had it disconnected. The monthly allowance I sent her was canceled. Finally, Miss Janet drafted a formal, brutally short email sent to both Rachel and an old email address I had for Tyler. It stated that effective immediately, all financial support had been terminated due to her recent actions. The fallout begins. The angry call from Rachel came 3 days later. My phone's not working. My rent is due. What did you do? I repeated what the lawyer told me to say. Rachel, you received the email. All financial support has ended. Her shriek of, "You'll be sorry," was followed by a barrage of texts from Tyler. Insults, accusations, "You're a monster. You're a real piece of work, old man." I didn't reply. I just screenshotted everything and forwarded it to my lawyer's office, my hands trembling with a mixture of fear and vindication. And then yesterday, the brave post from the title appeared on her Instagram, a picture of her looking sad, with a long, vague caption about childhood trauma and a prison of emotional control. My blood ran cold and hot at the same time. I wanted to scream, to post my own side. Instead, I took a deep breath, took several screenshots, and sent them to my lawyer. One step at a time. The fortress is being built, but the arrows have started to fly. Update 2. It's been 2 months. 2 months of living in a low-grade state of terror. The online campaign has intensified. Rachel's vague posts have been replaced with more specific, poisonous breadcrumbs, dropped in the comments. She implied I used to lock her in a room as a child, twisting a stupid 2-week punishment when she was 16 into a narrative of imprisonment. The likes and "we believe you" comments poured in. I started getting looks from neighbors. One of them, who used to be so friendly, now just gives me a tight, pitying nod. My sister, Carolyn, called me. It wasn't a conversation, it was an interrogation. "Dennis, what on earth did you do?" Rachel told me everything. How you controlled her, how you were always so angry. She's terrified of you. Carolyn, what did she tell you specifically? I asked, my voice dangerously quiet. Well, that you were just awful, that you're punishing her for trying to be independent. And you believe that? She's your daughter, Dennis. She wouldn't just make it all up. I ended the call. The feeling of betrayal was so absolute, it left me numb. Then came Tyler. He left a voicemail. He sounded like a wannabe mob negotiator. Listen, Dennis, his voice began, a clumsy attempt at being reasonable. I think this has all gone too far. Rachel, she's a wreck. We can make this all go away. The posts, the drama, everything. Just help her out. She needs that loan. Think of it as making things right. You do that and this all disappears. He wasn't smart enough to realize he'd just handed me a recorded confession of their entire strategy. I saved it, and my lawyer was ecstatic. The constant pressure was wearing me down. I was living on coffee and antacids. But during one of my sleepless nights scrolling through legal websites, I realized defense wasn't enough. A fortress can still be starved out. I needed to go on the offensive. The next day, I was back in Miss Janet's office. I want to end this, I told her. What's the next move? She leaned forward. We sue them for defamation. But if we're going to do it, we make sure our case is ironclad. We don't just deny her claims, we bring in an expert to professionally dismantle them. That's when she told me about Dr. Jerry, a forensic psychologist. An expert witness whose entire job is to provide objective clinical evaluations in high-conflict family cases. It's expensive, Miss Janet warned. It will take time, but his report would be our sword. The cost was staggering, enough to make me physically ill. It would chew up a huge chunk of my savings. But what was the alternative? Live the rest of my life looking over my shoulder, branded as an abuser by my own child? Hire him, I said. Update 3. It's been a long, quiet, and agonizing 3 months since my last update. That's how long the next phase took. Meeting with Dr. Jerry was like a voluntary autopsy of my life. For weeks, I spent hours in his sterile office, going over everything. He interviewed me about my late wife, my parenting struggles, my successes, and my failures. I admitted to every mistake I could remember, including the damned lock on the door. With my permission, he spoke to old family friends, my brother, who thankfully has a good head on his shoulders, and even Rachel's old pediatrician. He reviewed 2 decades of school and medical records. It was meticulous, exhausting, and emotionally brutal. The report arrived 2 weeks ago. It was a 40-page, single-spaced document of cold, hard clinical facts. It concluded that my psychological profile and documented history were profoundly inconsistent with patterns of behavior associated with physical or chronic emotional abuse. It painted a picture of a grieving, dedicated, and at times overburdened single parent. The report was the sword Miss Janet had promised. It was time to use it. Last Wednesday, we filed the lawsuit. Defamation, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and civil conspiracy to commit extortion. We weren't asking for millions. We were asking for full reimbursement of all legal and expert witness fees, a court-ordered permanent injunction, a court-ordered public retraction with the wording to be drafted by us. A process server delivered the papers to Rachel's apartment on Thursday afternoon. He served her first, then Tyler. At 8 p.m. that night, Miss Janet executed the final step. A cease and desist letter was sent via email and courier. It referenced the lawsuit and listed every defamatory post and comment. The final paragraph was the hammer blow. You are hereby demanded to permanently delete any and all defamatory content by 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. Should the content not be removed, we will be filing for an emergency injunction and adding a claim for additional punitive damages for every hour the content remains active. I didn't sleep. I sat in my dark kitchen, the laptop open, refreshing her Instagram page every 10 minutes. The posts stayed up, 4 a.m., 5 a.m., 5:30 a.m. My heart hammered in my chest. At 5:45 a.m., I refreshed again. Her entire account was gone. Wiped clean. At 6:15 a.m., my phone rang from a blocked number. It was Rachel, sobbing hysterically. You're suing me. You're suing your own daughter. You're ruining my life. The sound was a mixture of panic, rage, and pure, pathetic disbelief. The entitled queen had been checkmated, and she couldn't comprehend it. For a split second, the sound of her crying nearly broke me. But then I remembered the coldness in her eyes when she made the threat. No, Rachel, I said, my voice flat and dead. You tried to ruin my life. I'm just defending it. Anything else you have to say, you can say to Miss Janet. Do not contact me again. I hung up and finally, the dam broke. I sat there at my kitchen table and cried until the sun came up. Final update. It's been a year. A full year since my life was turned upside down. The legal system moves at a glacial pace, but the gears have finally ground to a halt. I wanted to post one final update to close this chapter. The lawsuit terrified them. Their response was a clumsy, pathetic scramble. Tyler's lawyer claimed he was just a concerned boyfriend. We sent back the voicemail. They folded. Rachel's lawyer saw our evidence, the police report, the texts, the voicemail, and the 40-page sword from Dr. Jerry, and knew he had an unwinnable case. He pushed them to settle. The fallout, a detailed accounting. The consequences were not cinematic. They were the quiet, grinding consequences of real life. The settlement. The final agreement was brutal. Rachel and Tyler were made jointly liable for all of my legal and expert witness fees. The final bill, after a year of work, came to $42,000. They had to agree to a wage garnishment plan. Tyler is now working full-time as a stocker at a grocery distribution center. Rachel works in a call center. A huge chunk of their income will be coming to me for years. She had to post the retraction. Miss Janet's legal poetry was pinned to Rachel's new barren Instagram profile for 90 days. I, Rachel, last name, retract and apologize for all false and defamatory statements I made online regarding my father, Dennis Lassen. My claims of abuse, mistreatment, and psychological control were untrue. The permanent injunction was granted by the court. They can never mention me publicly again. The social and family consequences. The retraction was a nuclear bomb. The I believe you crowd vanished. She was no longer a brave survivor. She was a proven liar and extortionist. I heard she lost most of her friends. My sister Carolyn sent a weak apology text. I deleted it without responding. Some betrayals don't deserve a reply. Rachel and Tyler, they broke up about 4 months ago. The debt, the humiliation, and the sheer ugliness of what they did apparently destroyed whatever they had. Tyler is gone. Rachel is living with roommates, buried in debt she incurred trying to ruin me. Where I am now, I won. But it doesn't feel like a victory. When you have a cancer, you cut it out. You endure the surgery and the chemo to survive. You are left scarred, but you are alive. Rachel was the cancer. I am left with a scar that covers half my life. I don't hate her, I feel nothing for her now, but a vast empty space where a daughter used to be. I am in therapy, learning to deal with the grief and the PTSD from it all. It's a process. Some days are good, on others I'll see a father and daughter laughing, and I have to leave the room before I fall apart. I sold the house, too many ghosts. I have a small condo now. I'm reconnecting with the few friends and family who stood by me. I'm slowly, painfully building a new life, one that is smaller, quieter, but entirely my own. My advice to anyone facing this is what I learned in the fire. Document everything. Act. Don't just react. Suppress the rage and use cold hard strategy. And understand that to save your own life, you may have to completely amputate a part of it. It was a hell of a price to pay. But I'm still here, and I am free.